Okay. Got it. Okay. Hello, everybody. I wish I could see you, but I can't, but I'll see you in a bit. So as Sarah mentioned, Sarah, thank you so much for inviting me. My name's Caitlin, and I work in co-op. And I'm here to tell you guys about some of the opportunities that await you as English students, and some things to think about if you wish to join co-op possibly as early as January. So for those of you who are in second year, and I think Sarah mentioned a number of you are because you're in her class, the first admission point for you guys to co-op is January, which is really just a few weeks away, kind of scary. So I'll talk to you about the application if you don't already have the co-op option and what you need to get in and to start. There's always more than one opportunity to join those, so don't worry if you don't meet the criteria right away. All right, so I'm just gonna, my little advance button, what am I gonna, I'm going to, just one sec here. Oh, there we go, it's just slow. That's funny. Sorry, let me go back. You know when something doesn't work and then you hit it a bunch of times. So this is today's agenda. Like I said, about half an hour to go over the following. I think what you guys really want to clue into is eligibility requirements. Participation considerations is a big one. Benefits, I think, are obvious, but we'll go over those as well. A little bit about rules in co-op, study term expectations, fees, nobody's favorite topic, but compulsory, and then a what's next slide. So what is co-op? A lot of people confuse co-op with the word internship. Sometimes they're used interchangeably. Co-op is, unlike an internship, an integrated learning program. That means it is occurring numerous times throughout your studies, integrated right with your classes. It combines traditional in-class education with hands-on work experience in your field of study. An internship, on the other hand, is usually just a one-time shot and is unpaid. Canada doesn't allow unpaid internships unless they're for academic credit. Co-op will pay you. It's not technically for academic credit, but it does appear on your transcript. A little bit more on that later. We are, I'm proud to say, the third largest program in Ontario. And for every BA student, and other programs too, 3 mandatory work terms are needed to get what's called the co-op designation. So you have the option of working more than 3 terms, but 3 is the minimum to get that nice little statement on your diploma that says co-op designation. Co-op is full-time and paid. So what I mean by full-time is 35 to 40 hours a week, 16 weeks. So a full, think of it as the length of an academic term, summer, winter, or fall. Don't know why I said it in that order, but anyway, I did. Paid employment, and have to be supervised, have to be related to your degree program. You do get support from co-op staff throughout the entire process. So that means right from the get-go, while you're taking co-op 1000, you have an instructor. You get help from a co-op advisor with resumes and cover letters. We're here to help you guys through the interview process, help you prepare for those, and really address any issues that are occurring on your work term, but those are few and far between. So some things to consider before you join. So co-op's a really structured program. As I mentioned, the first starting point is January of a student's second year. So you can't join whenever you want. There's really defined entry points. Because it's a year full of work, even though it's not generally 12 months in a row, it's kind of spread out. It does extend the length of your degree. So all of you are in honors programs, I assume. You do have to be in honors English to be in co-op as opposed to the 15 credit degree. It's going to add a year to your time at Carleton. Having said that, it's not a year that is in any way wasted. It's a year of you getting professional experience, getting paid, probably paying down some loans. But it means you're going to be here longer. There are mandatory fees, and I will cover that in more detail in a later slide. Co-op is a competitive program, so it's not a placement program, and it's really important that students understand that. You get access to a job board and you apply and you interview and you compete with your classmates. You compete with students in other degrees, possibly other universities, but there's lots and lots of jobs. We encourage students to apply to as much as they're interested in. And if you put in, I would say, a pretty substantial investment of your own time on your applications, on your resumes, on your cover letters, most students are successful. It's not a guarantee though. So we set you up for success as best as we can. However, there are certain factors, labor demand, job market, etc., that can influence success rates, I should say. We're not going to call them placement rates because it's not a placement. You want to familiarize yourself with the co-op participation agreement. So I know nobody likes reading fine print. We're all so used to clicking like, yes, I accept the terms of whatever. You really do want to read this document. Just Google it. It's on Carleton's website, but if you punch in Carleton Co-op Participation Agreement, it'll come up and it'll tell you what is expected of you as a student and the important rules you have to adhere to while you're part of this program. So the benefits of co-op, I've already talked about some of them, but in your case, you get to apply your academic learning in a real world setting. You get to explore career options. So those work terms that you're doing can be with the same company, or you can go from organization to organization, trying out different things for your 3 or 4 work terms. And you're not locked into anything at most. If you accept an 8-month placement, for example, it's 8 months of your life. You're not necessarily doing this for the next 30 years. You're obtaining paid relevant work experience, which only enhances the good chance of getting a possible job offer upon graduation. A lot of students have that waiting for them, which is really, really, really nice, especially in today's, shall we say, precarious job market. You get to grow your professional network and gain valuable references, which again, even if you don't work for an employer that you spent time with as a co-op student, if you did a good job, you have that person as a reference, you have a professional network that you can contact later. As I mentioned, you get the co-op designation on your degree. So that's a nice to have. It's not the be all and end all, but it is a nice notation that is exclusive to students who finish the co-op work term, the co-op program, I should say, with 3 work terms that are satisfactory. While you're working, you don't pay tuition. Just to be clear, you're not paying tuition and you're not paying any interest on a provincial loan. If you have OSAP or a loan from another Canadian province, there's no interest while you work. So you maintain your status as a Carleton student, which is really good to know. So applying to co-op, a lot of you, when you guys were in high school, way back when, you would have applied through the UAC application, Ontario University Application Center. If you selected the co-op option, that's awesome. What it means is you're in the co-op system, and we are going to automatically pull up your academic record at the right time to see if you meet the criteria. We reach out to you to let you know. Once admitted, you register in the Co-op 1000 class, which for you folks is offered in the wintertime. If you're not admitted, your eligibility is automatically assessed at the next possible entry point. So the co-op option is confusing to a lot of people, for good reason. Some students walk into Carleton thinking they're in co-op from day one. They're in this great program, they're going to work in year 3, etc. They have the potential to be in co-op, but you do have to meet the academic criteria at the university as opposed to high school. How you did in high school is not relevant anymore. It's all about how you're doing here at Carleton, okay? Now, if you don't remember whether you selected the co-op option, it will say on your transcript, you can run an unofficial transcript through Carleton Central, and it'll say co-op option if you selected it. If you didn't, do not worry, because there is literally a 2-second application. If you go on to My Success, which is in Carleton Central, you just apply for the winter term. And if you're not admissible, you can apply again. So that's the only downside with the actual manual application. It's up to you to keep applying if you're not in the first time, if that makes sense. So what do you need to get into co-op as an English student? As I mentioned, co-op is competitive. We want to be sending really high caliber students out into the world of work to represent Carleton. you have to have at least 5 credits earned by the winter of your second year. If you don't have that many credits earned at this point, or won't have them, I should say, by January, don't worry about it. We will look at you again next January. So 5 credits the minimum. Admission always occurs in the winter. So you either get in the winter of your second year or the winter of your third year. There's 2 entry points. This is really important and is not something that the co-op office flexes on. We do require a minimum overall CGPA, which stands for cumulative grade point average of a 9.0. So that's a B+, and a minimum major CGPA. So an average within your English courses alone, just the English courses, of a 9.0. That is a very good average. It's not an unattainable average, but it's relatively high. If any of you were around, well, I imagine a lot of you were around last year in first year, in the 2022-23 school year, you guys would have been the first class to possibly benefit from the first year grading policy, where you could choose to convert a grade or 2, actually up to 2 credits of grades you weren't super satisfied with, to a CR, which stands for credit received or credit earned, something like that. Just so you know, co-op does accept those grades. We don't look at the underlying grade. If you got a C in a course and you changed it to a CR, that's fine. We will look at your CGPAs as they appear on your academic audit. So you are permitted to join co-op even with, you know, courses that have been deemed satisfactory or credit received as opposed to an actual letter grade. Hope that makes sense and I'm not confusing anyone by that, but you do need 5 credits and you do need the B+ averages. You have to be registered as a full-time student in each term once you start the Co-op 1000 class. So a full-time student at Carleton is 1.5 credits and above. So it can't be below 1.5 credits. You always have to be full-time. And you maintain the CGPA requirements and full-time registration, not including summer. No one ever has to take classes in summer if they don't want to, throughout your degree. So those grades have to stay up there, and the minimum registration per term has to occur during every study semester. More information is available in the undergrad calendar at the link below. And again, guys, if you have any questions on this, I can't see hands, I can't see faces. So we'll take them at the end, if that's okay. The Co-op 1000 class, so you guys are aware, is a pre-recorded asynchronous class that's by invitation only. If some of you guys are super keen online and you're trying to find it on Carleton Central right now, you might see it for winter, but you can't actually register for it until the co-op office invites you, okay? It's a mandatory component of co-op. Everybody has to take it. We've had mature students saying, you know, I'm 45 years old. I'm doing this undergrad degree late in life. I've been a professional for 25 years. Do I honestly have to take this work prep course? And we say, yes, you do. It's only 8 weeks. It's non-credit. It's graded as SAT or unsat, so pass or fail. And what it does, it teaches rules about the co-op program and expectations, but more importantly, it tells you how to design a resume and a cover letter that's really going to sell you to potential employers. It talks about interview skills, job search strategies, best practices for the workplace, because a lot of you, I can't imagine anybody, unless you're possibly a mature student, has worked 35 hours a week, 40 hours a week in a professional organization. Could be wrong, but it's a big adjustment, right? So we teach how to acclimatize to that. Co-op 1000 has always taken at least 2 terms before the first work term. So for those of you who join in January, you'll take a regular course load, so at least 1.5 credits plus Co-op 1000. You'll go through the course. It's not the same academic. It's not, I don't want to call it a non-academic class, but aside from resumes and little mini quizzes, there's no, there's no major assignment. You do have to pass it, and you take it in conjunction with your other courses. In the summertime, you guys will get job access to our fall job board. So that is when you'll start working, as early September, and you have all summer to go over the job board and to apply to as many positions as you're interested in, and to interview for those and hopefully land a really great job. So that's Co-op 1000. I talked about the job board. The job board is exclusive to co-op students. So we have an entire team of business development coordinators whose role it is to go out into the world, not just Ottawa, and secure employer partners who want to hire our students. So students get access after Co-op 1000 is completed. You'll see high caliber positions. Your academic program dictates which jobs you can apply for. So you're not going to see engineering jobs. You're not going to see science-based jobs. You're going to see jobs that are appropriate for a BA student with really good research skills, writing ability, communication skills like you guys all have. Positions are added throughout the term. So even though there's always a rush, I would say in early May for people to get at the job board and to apply and to interview, you're going to see jobs posted all throughout May, June, July, even into August for employers looking for students in the fall, okay? If you book an interview or get asked to attend an interview and it's through our job board, you do have to attend it. So you can't skip out on interviews. I think that is just sort of a professional conduct thing, right? We want students to attend the interviews, and we also want them on their own to do what's called a self-directed job search. So while I would say maybe 70% of your time will be spent on the job board, we tell students, go out, use your own contacts, see who you can meet and network with to try and find a position on your own. This is a really good tactic for specific jobs. So something really niche. If you have an idea of exactly where you want to work, likely you're going to have to secure it on your own. It's good for specific locations, so you don't have to necessarily be working in Ottawa or even Ontario or Canada for that matter. You can work anywhere in the world. If you find a position on your own, it does require co-op's approval. So again, we look for the standard co-op criteria. Is it related to your degree? Is it paid? Is it full-time? Is it supervised? And is it 16 weeks? I would say between 12 weeks would be the minimum. 16 weeks would be the entire semester. It requires co-op's approval, and you want to think, okay, use LinkedIn, use job fairs. We just had a university job fair in mid-October. I hope some of you guys came to that. That was an in-person job fair. We're going to have an online one in January, in part because no one actually wants to leave their house in January. So stay tuned for information on that. Use your previous employers, profs, family, friends, etc. Use who you know to see what kind of work is out there. So where can you work? These are just some examples of past organizations where English students have found co-op work terms. So we can see the RCMP, City of Ottawa, Crown Indigenous Relations and Northern Affairs Canada, which would be super cool given what you guys are studying with Professor Jameson right now. Carleton U hires a lot of co-op students, Service Canada, Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, Correctional Services, Global Affairs, Department of Justice, Health Canada, Library and Archives Canada, also very cool, and Canadian Red Cross. So you are looking at a lot of government organizations. That is the case for a lot of BA students. So if you don't want to pursue government work, that's okay. But these are I would say the majority of postings that you'll see. Okay, if you're looking for work in private industry, you got to dig a little deeper and maybe go the self-directed job search route for those of you who are able. So what kinds of positions will I see? Again, people who are hiring English students are looking for students who can write, who can communicate, who can analyze. So here are just some of the titles: technical writer, copywriter, junior project officer, communications advisor, marketing, communications, and events assistant. So you can see kind of verging on, a little bit different than straight up English, but still with a focus on communications. Digital content assistant, junior web usability analyst, technical editor, junior researcher, information management support, and services officer. Just a few examples there. Rules to be aware of. So when you guys see the job board, you will see jobs that are posted. Some of them will be 4 months. We're going to look at the work study pattern in a second. For people that are scheduled to work in semesters that are back to back, you might see 8-month positions. The point is you want to apply for a job that matches your work-study pattern, okay? When it's through our job board, students can decline one job offer only. So that means when you apply, you know, on one hand, I'm telling you, apply, you know, get your name out there, get your application out. You can only decline one job offer. And that's because we don't want students, A, kind of wasting employers' time, but B, holding out for some dream job that may not come along. The whole point of co-op is to get you work experience. Your very first co-op position may not be your absolute dream job, and that's okay. It's designed to get you experience and to get you into a field that will benefit you later on. But remember, this is not something that you're committing to for, you know, a 30-year career. Students cannot renege on a job once they have accepted. So if you accept something verbally in an post-interview or in writing, that counts as an acceptance. And we do expect students to honor the commitment they've made to the employer and to see the position through. So students are not permitted to leave a co-op work term in the middle of it, unless of course there's some, you know, extenuating circumstance that that is going on, family issue, health, etc. I mentioned that that's my final point about leaving a co-op position early. But if anything is not going well, or if something comes up, please let us know. We are here to support students. We do try to be flexible and compassionate as much as possible while maintaining the integrity of our program and, you know, sticking to the rules as best we can. So work-study patterns, I mentioned these. They are assigned towards the very end of Co-op 1000. The pattern is developed with major input from faculty because they're the ones that know, you know, I was just asking Professor Jameson about an old, this is before your time, an old requirement, British Literature Part 1 and 2. They were full year classes. They were very intense. You had to do Part 1 before you did Part 2, etc. So obviously that is no longer a requirement, but it's courses like that the pattern is designed around. If you need to be in class for a full year, your pattern is going to reflect that. And I'll show you yours momentarily. All patterns feature at least one extra work term, which is optional. So English, I forget if you see 4 or 5 possible work terms, but you only need to do 3 of them. So there are occasions where you can choose to skip them, or it also creates a bit of a buffer if you're not successful, possibly the very first work term. You've got additional opportunities later on to secure work at that point. This is an important rule. Students have to return to full-time studies following their final work term. So we want you coming back to Carleton to end your schooling in the classroom, either one semester or ideally a full year. This is also a really important point, guys. Students are permitted, they're certainly not expected to do this, but they're allowed to register in a half-credit course while they're on a work term. Even that is a big undertaking though, because if you're working 35, 40 hours a week, you know, for a government organization, for example, you're going to be worked pretty hard. You'll be doing a half credit on your own time in the evening if you wish, or it can be an online class. It cannot be during the day though, because that will inevitably cause you to miss work time. That is not the expectation of co-op. So during work term, students are committed to the employer. They're not supposed to be concerned about their schooling. It's kind of a break. If you want to do that half credit, you can, but it can't be daytime. Okay. So here is the English work study pattern. So I'm just, oops, my goodness, I'm skipping ahead here. So you can see year 1, year 2, 3, 4, and 5. You folks can probably guess that the S's stand for study and the W's stand for work. So English students come into co-op in the winter of the year 2. So you'll say under the year 2 column, we see an S beside winter. That's when you take co-op 1000. The following summer, so just the next semester, that's when you get your job board access. And you can see that students are timelined to work in the fall of year 3, in the winter of year 3. That means you'll be able to see 8-month jobs, which is really cool. The summer of year 3 is a study term. The fall of year 4 is a study term. And then we have 2 more work terms scheduled in the winter of year 4 and the summer of year 4. with year 5 being 2 back-to-back study terms. So you'd be graduating in the winter, or I should say April, June, whatever you want to call it, of your year 5. So first opportunity to work is the fall of your 3rd year. Last opportunity to work would be the summer of your year 4. And it looks to me like you have 2 back-to-back 8-month opportunities. They can be just a 4-month job though, and then you might get an extension, or you could find another position for the following 4 months. So I hope that makes sense. Work study patterns are invariably confusing, but if you ever have to change yours for some reason, you can request a change to the work study pattern, but we typically do need to see like a reason for it, as well as a pretty comprehensive course plan that shows when you're going to make up the classes that you're supposed to be taking during those study terms. And I'm sure that's something that Sarah and her team can help you guys with. So work term requirements. When you secure a position, you get registered in something called a work term course. So in the case of English, it's ENGL 3999. It's not a real course. There's no instructor. There's no class hours. What it is, on paper, it allows you to be considered still a full-time Carleton student, even though you're working. It is what allows you to get credit for your work term. And the way students receive credit for the work term is that they write a report near the end of each work term. So for students who work in the fall, they have to submit their report on December 16th. Students who work in the winter, it's April 16th. Students who work in the summer, it's August 16th. And it is graded, in your case, by Professor Jameson, who's the faculty advisor for co-op. Your employer will also formally evaluate your performance. So every first-time co-op student gets what's called a site visit, either an in-person or an online visit from their co-op student advisor, who will chat with you as well as your employer to make sure everything's going okay. From that point on, you sort of graduate into the non-site visit realm. We do check in with students via email. We check in with employers via email, and every employer does a formal evaluation at the very end of the work term. I'm kind of laughing actually when I was rejigging this presentation for English, because this fellow with the vest and the hard hat is probably not an English student, but nonetheless it's a nice photo, and I believe he's sitting outside of Parliament there, which is kind of cool. But I don't think you guys will be involved in anything requiring work boots or a hard hat. Not to generalize, but you know what I'm saying. So co-op fees, I left this till the end. This is not my favorite slide, but it's important you guys know the co-op office does not receive funding the way other departments and campus offices do. We are entirely self-funded. So that means that the fees co-op students pay go towards things like job development, paying for the co-op student advisors, all the networking events we put on, all the resume clinics we put on, the creation of the co-op 1000 course itself, etc., etc., etc. So on 4 occasions, so 1 term each, students are charged an amount that's $467. So on 4 occasions, you'll get charged that amount as your administration fee. The very first one being the charge you pay for co-op 1000. It is based on the admission when you're admitted to the program. These are mandatory. There's no getting out of them. I should mention though, all co-op programs across Canada require co-op fees, and Carleton, believe it or not, is actually on the lower side of what universities charge. So something to take away there. Work term fees, every time a student secures a co-op job and to get registered in the work term course, they're charged a work term fee. Again, it's $467. So you're either paying 3 of those if you work on 3 occasions, or 4 of them if you work for 4 work terms. It's only applied when you secure a work term. So all in all, you're looking at a cost of about $3,200, I'd say, for the admin fees and 3 work term fees put together. I know that seems like a lot of money. It doesn't seem like a lot of money. It is a lot of money. But remember, it's spread out over your entire degree. And the money you're going to make as a co-op student is going to very, very quickly offset anything you're paying in terms of fees. So I like to think of the fee aspect as a bit of a necessary evil. but short-term pain for very long-term gain when you consider how great the impact co-op can be on your job prospects as a very young university graduate, if that is a decent way of saying that. So what's next? You folks want to focus on meeting the eligibility requirements. So how you do this term is vitally important because it's going to affect your CGPAs, right? Every course you take contributes to your average, if it's a letter grade, I should say. So, you know, I know exam season is coming up. You got final essays. Give it your all. Do the best you can. We will evaluate you in January once your grades are in. It's a really fast-paced, hectic time of year in the co-op office, but we try to get decisions out by mid-January at the latest. Don't worry, Co-op 1000 does not fill up. We can take as many students as are eligible. So you don't have to worry about not getting in or having too many people in the program. There's no cap, is what I'm saying. If you haven't applied, be sure to do so. I would say right now, don't leave it to the last minute. The last minute would be December 31st at 11:59 p.m., which is when the winter application will close. But you can submit the application right now through My Success. It's super easy, super fast. Think about creating a LinkedIn account. Career Services can help you guys with that, just as kind of a starting point, you know, for networking and gaining contacts, seeing who's out there. Can't stress this enough. I know now is probably not the time of year to be doing this because you're so busy with academics, but networking, attending virtual events, career fairs, learning about different jobs. For those of you who start co-op in January, try to do as much of this as you can. Come out to the January career fair, come out to the March career fair. Think about volunteer or part-time work to gain key employability skills. Any kind of volunteer job or part-time work, even if it's, you guys may not think, you know, super highly of working in a fast food restaurant or babysitting or, you know, the kind of job that sort of someone in their teens or early 20s might have. All of those things teach you guys accountability, working with others, meeting deadlines, customer service, etc. The co-op office can really help make that employment opportunity and experience stand out on a resume. It all adds up, every little thing you guys do, whether it's, you know, you want to list academic accomplishments, you know, extracurriculars, all those things kind of give a nice holistic picture of who you are as individuals and, you know, tell an interesting story to an employer who's looking for folks just like you.